Section 9 of the Sorrows of Young Werther. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Barry Eads. The Sorrows of Young Werther by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Section 9. November 3. Witness, Heaven, how often I lie down in my bed with a wish and even a hope that I may never awaken again. And in the morning, when I open my eyes, I behold the sun once more, and am wretched. If I were whimsical, I might blame the weather, or an acquaintance, or some personal disappointment for my discontented mind, and then this insupportable load of trouble would not rest entirely upon myself. But alas! I feel it too sadly. I am alone the cause of my own woe, am I not? Truly, my own bosom contains the source of all my sorrow, as it previously contained the source of all my pleasure. Am I not the same being who once enjoyed an excess of happiness, who at every step saw paradise open before him, and whose heart was ever expanded toward the whole world? And this heart is now dead. No sentiment can revive it. My eyes are dry, and my senses, no more refreshed by the influence of soft tears, wither and consume my brain. I suffer much, for I have lost the only charm of life, that active, sacred power which created worlds around me. It is no more. When I look from my window at the distant hills, and behold the morning sun breaking through the mists, and illuminating the country around, which is still wrapped in silence, whilst the soft stream winds gently through the willows, which have shed their leaves, when glorious nature displays all her beauties before me, and her wondrous prospects are ineffectual to extract one tear of joy from my withered heart, I feel that in such a moment I stand like a reprobate before heaven, hardened, insensible, and unmoved. Oftentimes do I then bend my knee to the earth, and implore God for the blessing of tears, as the desponding labourer in some scorching climate prays for the dews of heaven to moisten his parched corn. But I feel that God does not grant sunshine or rain to our importunate entreaties. And oh, those bygone days, whose memory now torments me! Why were they so fortunate? Because I then waited with patience for the blessings of the Eternal, and received his gifts with the grateful feelings of a thankful heart. November 8. Charlotte has reproved me for my excesses, with so much tenderness and goodness. I have lately been in the habit of drinking more wine than heretofore. Don't do it, she said. Think of Charlotte. Think of you! I answered. Need you bid me do so? Think of you! I do not think of you. You are ever before my soul. This very morning I sat on the spot where, a few days ago, you descended from the carriage, and she immediately changed the subject, to prevent me from pursuing it farther. My dear friend, my energies are all prostrated. She can do with me what she pleases. November 15. I thank you, Wilhelm, for your cordial sympathy, for your excellent advice, and I implore you to be quiet. Leave me to my sufferings. In spite of my wretchedness, I have still strength enough for endurance. I revere religion, you know I do. I feel that it can impart strength to the feeble and comfort to the afflicted, but does it affect all men equally? Consider this vast universe. You will see thousands for whom it has never existed, thousands for whom it will never exist, whether it be preached to them or not. And must it then necessarily exist for me? Does not the Son of God himself say that they are his whom the Father has given to him? Have I been given to him? What if the Father will retain me for himself, as my heart sometimes suggests? I pray you, do not misinterpret this. Do not extract derision from my harmless words. I pour out my whole soul before you. Silence were otherwise preferable to me, but I need not shrink from a subject of which few know more than I do myself. What is the destiny of man, but to fill up the measure of his sufferings, and to drink his allotted cup of bitterness? And if that same cup proved bitter to the God of heaven, under a human form, why should I affect a foolish pride, and call it sweet? Why should I be ashamed of shrinking at that fearful moment, when my whole being will tremble between existence and annihilation, when a remembrance of the past, like a flash of lightning, will illuminate the dark gulf of futurity, when everything shall dissolve around me, and the whole world vanish away? Is not this the voice of a creature oppressed beyond all resource, self deficient, about to plunge into inevitable destruction, and groaning deeply at its inadequate strength, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And should I feel ashamed to utter the same expression? Should I not shudder at the prospect which had its fears, even for him who folds up the heavens like a garment? November 21. She does not feel, she does not know, that she is preparing a poison which will destroy us both, and I drink deeply of the draught which is to prove my destruction. What mean those looks of kindness which she often, no, not often, but sometimes, regards me? That complacency with which she hears the involuntary sentiments which frequently escape me, and the tender pity for my sufferings which appears in her countenance? Yesterday, when I took leave, she seized me by the hand, and said, "Adieu, dear Werther." Dear Werther! It was the first time she ever called me dear. The sound sunk deep into my heart. I have repeated it 100 times, and last night, on going to bed, and talking to myself of various things, I suddenly said, "Good night, dear Werther," and then could not but laugh at myself. November 22. I cannot pray, "Leave her to me," and yet she often seems to belong to me. I cannot pray, "Give her to me," for she is another's. In this way I affect mirth over my troubles; and if I had time, I could compose a whole litany of antitheses. November 24. She is sensible of my sufferings. This morning her look pierced my very soul. I found her alone, and she was silent. She steadfastly surveyed me. I no longer saw in her face the charms of beauty or the fire of genius: these had disappeared. But I was affected by an expression much more touching, a look of the deepest sympathy and of the softest pity. Why was I afraid to throw myself at her feet? Why did I not dare to take her in my arms and answer her by 1,000 kisses? She had recourse to her piano for relief, and in a low and sweet voice accompanied the music with delicious sounds. Her lips never appeared so lovely: they seemed but just to open, that they might imbibe the sweet tones which issued from the instrument, and return the heavenly vibration from her lovely mouth. Oh, who can express my sensations! I was quite overcome, and bending down, pronounced this vow: "Beautiful lips, which the angels guard, never will I seek to profane your purity with a kiss. And yet, my friend, oh, I wish but my heart is darkened by doubt and indecision. Could I but taste felicity, and then die to expiate the sin! What sin? November 26. Oftentimes I say to myself, "Thou alone art wretched; all other mortals are happy; none are distressed like thee." Then I read a passage in an ancient poet, and I seem to understand my own heart. I have so much to endure. Have men before me ever been so wretched? November 30. I shall never be myself again. Wherever I go, some fatality occurs to distract me. Even to day, alas, for our destiny! Alas for human nature! About dinner time I went to walk by the river side, for I had no appetite. Everything around seemed gloomy. A cold and damp easterly wind blew from the mountains, and black heavy clouds spread over the plain. I observed at a distance a man in a tattered coat. He was wandering among the rocks, and seemed to be looking for plants. When I approached, he turned round at the noise, and I saw that he had an interesting countenance, in which a settled melancholy, strongly marked by benevolence, formed the principal feature. His long black hair was divided and flowed over his shoulders. As his garb betokened a person of the lower order, I thought he would not take it ill if I inquired about his business, and I therefore asked what he was seeking. He replied, with a deep sigh, that he was looking for flowers, and could find none. "But it is not the season," I observed with a smile. "Oh, there are so many flowers," he answered, as he came nearer to me. "In my garden there are roses and honeysuckles of two sorts. One sort was given to me by my father. They grow as plentifully as weeds. I have been looking for them these 2 days, and cannot find them. There are flowers out there, yellow, blue, and red, and that centaury has a very pretty blossom, but I can find none of them." I observed his peculiarity, and therefore asked him, with an air of indifference, what he intended to do with his flowers. A strange smile overspread his countenance. Holding his finger to his mouth, he expressed a hope that I would not betray him, and he then informed me that he had promised to gather a nosegay for his mistress. "That is right," said I. "Oh," he replied, "she possesses many other things as well. She is very rich." "And yet," I continued, "she likes your nosegays." "Oh, she has jewels and crowns!" he exclaimed. I asked who she was. "If the States General would but pay me," he added, "I should be quite another man. Alas! there was a time when I was so happy; but that is past, and I am now—" He raised his swimming eyes to heaven. "And you were happy once?" I observed. "Ah, would I were so still!" was his reply. "I was then as gay and contented as a man can be." An old woman, who was coming toward us, now called out, "Henry, Henry, where are you? We have been looking for you everywhere. Come to dinner." "Is he your son?" I inquired, as I went toward her. "Yes," she said, "he is my poor unfortunate son. The Lord has sent me a heavy affliction." I asked whether he had been long in this state. She answered, "He has been as calm as he is at present for about 6 months. I thank Heaven that he has so far recovered. He was for 1 whole year quite raving, and chained down in a madhouse. Now he injures no one, but talks of nothing else than kings and queens. He used to be a very good, quiet youth, and helped to maintain me. He wrote a very fine hand. But all at once he became melancholy, was seized with a violent fever, grew distracted, and is now as you see. If I were only to tell you, sir—" I interrupted her by asking what period it was in which he boasted of having been so happy. "Poor boy!" she exclaimed, with a smile of compassion. "He means the time when he was completely deranged, a time he never ceases to regret, when he was in the madhouse, and unconscious of everything." I was thunderstruck. I placed a piece of money in her hand, and hastened away. "You were happy!" I exclaimed, as I returned quickly to the town, "as gay and contented as a man can be. God of heaven! is this the destiny of man? Is he only happy before he has acquired his reason, or after he has lost it? Unfortunate being! And yet I envy your fate. I envy the delusion to which you are a victim. You go forth with joy to gather flowers for your princess, in winter, and grieve when you can find none, and cannot understand why they do not grow. But I wander forth without joy, without hope, without design, and I return as I came. You fancy what a man you would be if the States General paid you. Happy mortal! Who can ascribe your wretchedness to an earthly cause? You do not know, you do not feel, that in your own distracted heart and disordered brain dwells the source of that unhappiness which all the potentates on earth cannot relieve. Let that man die unconsoled who can deride the invalid for undertaking a journey to distant healthful springs, where he often finds only a heavier disease and a more painful death, Or who can exult over the despairing mind of a sinner, who, to obtain peace of conscience and an alleviation of misery, makes a pilgrimage to the Holy Sepulchre? Each laborious step which galls his wounded feet in rough and untrodden paths pours a drop of balm into his troubled soul, and the journey of many a weary day brings a nightly relief to his anguished heart. Will you dare call this enthusiasm, ye crowds of pompous declaimers? Enthusiasm! O God, thou seest my tears. Thou hast allotted us our portion of misery. Must we also have brethren to persecute us, to deprive us of our consolation, of our trust in thee, and in thy love and mercy? For our trust in the virtue of the healing root, or in the strength of the vine, what is it else than a belief in thee from whom all that surrounds us derives its healing and restoring powers? Father whom I do not know, who wert once wont to fill my soul, but who now hidest thy face from me, call me back to thee. Be silent no longer. Thy silence shall not delay a soul which thirsts after thee. What man, what father, could be angry with a son for returning to him suddenly, for falling on his neck and exclaiming, I am here again, my father. Forgive me if I have anticipated my journey, and returned before the appointed time. The world is everywhere the same, a scene of labour and pain, of pleasure and reward, but what does it all avail? I am happy only where thou art, and in thy presence am I content to suffer or enjoy. And wouldst thou, heavenly Father, banish such a child from thy presence? December 1. Wilhelm, the man about whom I wrote to you, that man so enviable in his misfortunes, was secretary to Charlotte's father, and an unhappy passion for her which he cherished, concealed, and at length discovered, caused him to be dismissed from his situation. This made him mad. Think, whilst you peruse this plain narration, what an impression the circumstance has made upon me. But it was related to me by Albert with as much calmness as you will probably peruse it. December 4. I implore your attention. It is all over with me. I can support this state no longer. To day I was sitting by Charlotte. She was playing upon her piano a succession of delightful melodies, with such intense expression. Her little sister was dressing her doll upon my lap. The tears came into my eyes. I leaned down and looked intently at her wedding ring. My tears fell. Immediately she began to play that favourite, that divine air which has so often enchanted me. I felt comfort from a recollection of the past, of those bygone days when that air was familiar to me; and then I recalled all the sorrows and the disappointments which I had since endured. I paced with hasty strides through the room; my heart became convulsed with painful emotions. At length I went up to her and exclaimed with eagerness, "For heaven's sake, play that air no longer!" She stopped, and looked steadfastly at me. She then said, with a smile which sunk deep into my heart, "Werther, you are ill. Your dearest food is distasteful to you. But go, I entreat you, and endeavour to compose yourself." I tore myself away. God, thou seest my torments, and wilt end them. December 6. How her image haunts me! Waking or asleep, she fills my entire soul. Soon as I close my eyes, here, in my brain, where all the nerves of vision are concentrated, her dark eyes are imprinted. Here, I do not know how to describe it, but if I shut my eyes, hers are immediately before me. Dark as an abyss they open upon me, and absorb my senses. And what is man, that boasted demigod? Do not his powers fail when he most requires their use? And whether he soar in joy or sink in sorrow, is not his career in both inevitably arrested? And whilst he fondly dreams that he is grasping at infinity, does he not feel compelled to return to a consciousness of his cold, monotonous existence? End of section 9.